This club confuses me every single day. Every single day I see a bit of news about Spurs, I get confused about the direction, the decision making. Everything about this club just confuses me. Spurs are signing Conor Gallagher. I'm going to explore like the pros and cons to Gallagher as a player, but I think first I kind of want to talk about the bigger picture stuff, the kind of issues I have with this direction of signing and why, despite the fact that I do rate Conor Gallagher as a player, I think he's very useful. I just don't think it's what Spurs need. Now, that doesn't mean that Conor Gallagher won't have a good impact on Spurs. I think he definitely could have a good impact on Spurs this season. He probably walks in as our best midfielder. Not by a huge amount, I wouldn't say, but I think there's things that he can bring to this team that are better than a lot of what the other players bring to the team. He's definitely the most ready out of the kind of number eights that we have in the squad. The most kind of plug and play player that will affect games. Apologies if you can hear drilling going on and there's the next door doing building works, doing my head in, waking me up every morning. But yeah, so apologies if you can hear that. You might not be able to hear it. Like I said, I will explore the pros to this signing a bit later on in the video. But first, I kind of want to talk about the bigger picture. Conor Gallagher, another kind of athlete who excels a lot of what he does off the ball and not a lot on the ball. He's solid technically. He's rounded technically, like a bit of a jack of all trades, I would say. A number eight who's better at with his carrying in terms of progressing. Very kind of up and down, intense player. Can run for days. And I think we have to be very clear on that exact fact. He can run. He can run. He can run. We have Pape Sarr. We have Bentancur. We have Bissouma. We have Bergvall. We have Gray. We have Palhinha. Of course, Bissouma's obviously been kind of phased out. Bentancur's injured. Palhinha's on loan. We have Sarr, Bergvall and Gray then, who are kind of more guaranteed parts of the squad at the moment. They all thrive more in their carrying than their passing. That's just a fact. They are all also good athletes. They can all get about the pitch very, very well to a good level. They are all a little bit chaotic. I would say Gray is the least chaotic, but they are all still very chaotic. So is Gallagher. So signing Gallagher, even though that he might be the best of that bunch, I don't think he has the highest ceiling of that bunch. I think Bergvall and Gray have more to their game in the future. But signing Gallagher means we now have four, if you don't include Bissouma, Bentancur and Palhinha, we have four players of similar style, similar profile. And the kind of analogy I wanna bring up here is like, people will say, yeah, but he's an upgrade on what we have. That's fine. That's fine. But is that upgrade bigger than the upgrade we'd bring if we brought in an actual progressive controller in midfield? That upgrade from what we have is pretty much nothing to a good progressive passer. What we're doing now is we have good players there, but we're getting a slightly better player. That is not how you build a squad. That is like if you're building your house and your living room's there, the first thing you buy, you've got a TV. It's a good TV. And instead of kind of buying a sofa, you're sitting on the floor watching this TV, you just buy a slightly bigger TV. Rather than designing the rest of the room to create your living room, you don't focus on the areas of the squad where you already have depth. That's not how you build a squad. It makes no sense, because what that is going to do is create more work in the transfer market. We're going to now have to offload one of these number eights, two of these number eights, maybe even three of these number eights in terms of Bentancur, Bissouma, Sarr, Bergvall and Gray. So you're creating more work for yourself when you haven't even solved the problem that was there. The fact that we need someone who can control games from the midfield, someone who can receive in the first line of pressure, someone who can play through the lines. We still haven't solved that problem. We've just bought another stockpiling player where, of course, he could be an upgrade on that, but we're still neglecting the main issue. And so it's a bad use of funds, it's bad squad planning, and it's creating more work for us in terms of outgoings. We're going to now have to move on these players before we've even thought about solving the actual issue at hand. We are so behind every Premier League team in terms of technical midfielders. I can't think of a single team in the Premier League who has a less technical midfield than us, and that's including Wolves, maybe Burnley, maybe Leeds. Barring those two, I genuinely can't think of a team that has a worse technical level in their midfield. And that is a huge problem. That's going to be a huge problem. Now, I'm not saying that technical ability is everything in midfield. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need a combination of both. We don't have that technical ability there. We already have this kind of runner, jeweler type profile. So that is where the problems lie. It's not a slight on Gallagher as the player, because I think Gallagher is a good player. I really do think he's a good player. And will he have an impact on the team? I'm sure he will, but it's a bad allocation of funds, and it's setting us back and slowing down our progression as a team. So for me, it's just a reflection on how misguided the club is from top to bottom, about what this team really needs to fix it. And a couple of people have said to me, yeah, but he fixes the homegrown issue and he's an upgrade on what we have. The homegrown issue, fine, get that. There's 4 midfielders who are homegrown who I can think of from the top of my head that would be the right profile, or at least going towards the right profile before you get Gallagher. And that is Alex Scott, who's pretty attainable. Curtis Jones, who Paul O'Keefe said we were actually interested in. That was the right profile. He's a progressive player. Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson, obviously, they seem quite unrealistic. But if you wanted to go homegrown, you could go big on those two. Will I get behind the signing? Obviously. He's a Spurs player now. I want Spurs to do well. I think Gallagher will do pretty well. I don't think he's the answers to our problems. I don't think he probably makes us much better as a team. This is not the way I would build the squad. Will he have an impact on Spurs? I'm sure he will, because he's a good player. So with that all out the window, rant over, let's talk about Gallagher as a player. Please, before I do that, subscribe. Please comment down below what you think of Gallagher. Please do share the video as well and like it. We are trying to hit 10k subs before March, so please do subscribe. But yeah, let's get into Gallagher. So in Gallagher's career, he's actually played in numerous roles. He's played in this kind of double 8 role in front of a pivot like this, where he's all action. He's played in a pivot with a partner, and he's also played in a 10 role as a kind of late box crasher type number 10, lots of goal contributions and kind of arriving in the box to a really good level. Gallagher is the definition of high energy, high intensity. He plays the game very intensely. He gets about, he puts himself about, he's an all-action player. He wants to be involved a lot, especially out of possession. So he's a fantastic presser. He closes angles really well. He's got a great engine on him. But he also has those intangibles that you can't really, let's say, analyze with like a tactical mindset. He leaves everything out there on the pitch. He'll run that extra 5 yards. He will lead by example as well. And I do think sometimes we overlook these intangibles. And when you're not in and around the changing room as well and training with these guys every day, I think you can overlook these things. And I overlook these things as well. So I think that is something that we definitely have to accept with Gallagher. Not accept, sorry. We have to acknowledge. Because those things do make a difference. Week in, week out, especially when a team is lacking confidence, you want those people who are going to show up. They're going to demand standards. And I do think Gallagher is one of those players. And I don't think I don't know necessarily what he's like as a person, but in terms of his body language and the way he carries himself on the pitch, I think that's clear to see. He will always have his standards at a certain level. And that is for sure something that we can really appreciate. Now, Gallagher is pretty secure in possession. I think he's pretty well-rounded in terms of technical ability. I don't think he's outstanding technically, but he's a good technical footballer. He will not try anything extravagant on the ball. I think he's the kind of player that will play the way he's facing a lot. I do think that, especially in the first phase. I think if he was playing kind of further forward, you can see him be a bit more adventurous with his touches. He's going to turn on it and carry it maybe. But in this kind of area, he's not going to take many risks, I don't think, on the ball. That's to say, on the ball, he's not going to take many risks. So I can envisage him doing a lot of kind of bounce passes back, playing quite safe. But then once he does lay it off, he's constantly on the move to receive again. He's quite a intense player off the ball in terms of when he doesn't have the ball, he lays it off, constantly moving, constantly trying to make angles, especially angles in the final third. So he will want to make runs beyond. This is really difficult runs to pick up for opposition teams. because runs from deep are just so hard to defend. It's hard to track, especially when they run beyond the back line. And then out of possession, like I said, his dueling capabilities are really good. He's strong, he's tenacious, so he can win duels really, really well. Like I said, he's aggressive and he has those intangibles where sometimes he looks like he wants the ball more than the opposition. Those things carry really well, especially to the Premier League where the league is so intense. Now, if we talk about him in the final third, this is kind of my favourite asset of his game. And that is his ability to arrive and time runs into the box. I think he's excellent at timing those runs. And actually not just timing the runs, but being effective off both feet at finishing and being calm in front of goal, but also having ball striking from range, kind of in and around the box. He can shoot off both feet. So his kind of contributions in the final third can be really effective because of that willingness to make those runs and that willingness to score goals. I think a lot of number 10s you see sometimes don't have that willingness to score goals and contribute in the box. They want to kind of have everything to feet. They want to kind of operate in zones where they can be more creative. But Gallagher really wants to affect the game in front of goal. So that is something that I think can be a real asset to any team. Like I said with his technical game, I think if you leave Gallagher kind of time to turn on it, you don't really press him. I think his passing range is pretty good. Off both feet, can play long passes. It's where he's pressed where I think he struggles a bit. He can be a bit more chaotic, or he can play a bit more safe. This is where I come on to the cons of Gallagher. I think he's very safe in his passing. I don't think he backs himself with his progressive passing. I think the numbers back this up as well. He is someone that plays simple, and a lot of his good work comes off the ball movement, running, etc., etc. I don't think he's someone that is gonna demand the ball and play through the lines. Therefore, if we see him in our midfield for a team that has made less through balls and less progressive passes than certain individual players in this league, and they're not top individual players either, that is going to exacerbate our issues. I'm so sure of that. He's not a progressive passer. He can receive under pressure at times, but he's going to be safe with his passing. That's just what I see of him. I also think this is a team that has been way too chaotic for way too long, and I've missed just someone who can bring a bit of calm to the team. And Gallagher is the opposite of calm. He's not going to bring that calm. If anything, he brings more chaos. And that chaos isn't always a bad thing. Like the intensity, the kind of intangibles that I spoke about are good. But when you need someone to put their foot on the ball and slow the game down, that's not Gallagher. I think Gallagher plays at a really high intensity all of the time. And I think a lot of our midfield is too chaotic. And Gallagher is going to make that worse. And that's just how I feel about it. Now, while I do think he's been signed as a pivot player, I think his best role is the number 10. I think the best things you're going to get from Gallagher, especially for a front-footed team, and this is really important because maybe in a kind of lesser team where they're playing constantly on transition, you can have Gallagher in a deeper role because there's less kind of ball progression responsibility, but his athleticism and his intangibles can really help carry him through. But I think for a top team, you want him further forward because of his goal contributions, his timing of runs into the box. He can carry 10, 15 goals and assists per season. I really believe that. I think his timing of run is so good and his finishing ability. But also it's that front-footedness in his pressing. I think having someone there who can press as well as him is really, really good for that counter-pressing ability, that winning the ball high up. And if you want to be aggressive as a team, which I don't know if Thomas Frank does, that is, I think, for me, his best role. And I think Pochettino used him there. I think that was probably his best spell under Pochettino. And I think that's where his best role is. Now, this is where I worry a little bit about Xavi Simons in the 10. I think Frank really doesn't like Xavi Simons in the 10. I think Frank wants more athleticism. I think he wants more dueling capability. I think he wants more desire to make the box. I think he wants a physical presence in that 10 as well to win second balls. And this is where I worry about Xavi Simons in the 10, especially due to the fact that we have injuries now and we kind of lacking a marquee left winger still. Still haven't brought one in the window. That wasn't a priority for me, but it seems like Frank doesn't love Tel or Odobert yet. And this is where I think Xavi Simons might be forced out onto the left. Now, in a Frank team, I don't hate this because I know that Xavi Simons, if you have let's say, a pivot of Gallagher and Palhinha, flipping out, I pray for anyone who plays in a 10 in front of Gallagher and Palhinha because they are not receiving the ball. They are not receiving the ball. And Simmons has struggled in receiving the ball this season, all season. And if you put Palhinha and Gallagher in a pivot together, Xavi Simmons isn't going to get the ball. He's hardly going to get the ball. And what will start happening is he'll start dropping deep here, and that is so easy to defend against. You've got three midfielders, a massive gap here. Xavi Simmons further away from goal. He can't be a real threat here. Or he's just gonna get frustrated because he's not going to receive it. And that's just Frank. That's just Frank for me. What we've seen a lot is Porro kind of playing this ball over the top, kind of drawing in the press, playing a couple passes, and then Porro playing this ball when obviously Kudus was here. I don't know who the right wing will be now. Now this, for Gallagher, is sort of cash money. Like, this is his game, especially at number 10. And if we are going to see Frank with this team, Gallagher is going to be more effective as his 10. He just is, because he's going to play that long ball, and then we're looking for box crashers, we're looking for crosses into the box, and this is where Gallagher can shine. He makes the box, he makes really good runs, he can have cutbacks, he can shoot from range, and he's not someone who needs lots of touches to affect the game. He can affect the game on minimal touches because of that end product. Now, Xavi Simmons is someone who you want dictating play and playing little cute passes, getting a lot of touches, controlling that area, and Xavi Simmons doesn't get that luxury at Spurs under Frank. So for me, I think we might see something like this with Gallagher in the 10 and Xavi Simmons out left. And to be honest, like, I'm so done with kind of watching this Frank team. For Xavi Simmons' case, I think this is probably going to suit him better under Frank, because he'll receive the ball with more time. He won't be kind of forced to try and win these second balls and these really kind of difficult balls to control. He'll probably get more of the ball to feet. Also, if we have Udogie or if we have our new signing Souza, one of them overlapping Simmons, then it allows him to drift in field, and then we can get him kind of combining with Gallagher. And I don't think Gallagher's the worst combiner either. I think Simmons and Gallagher could, like, Gallagher's kind of give and goes are pretty good. He doesn't want to hold on to the ball too long. He's happy to kind of give it off, and I think that isn't the worst thing in the world. So I think that's potentially the best answer if we're playing in the way that Thomas Frank wants us to play. To be honest, under him, with the players we have, you might as well just neglect this midfield and just continue to play long, because, you know, Frank's not going to play through central areas anyway. We don't have the players to do it either. We're not buying, well, we might buy one, we'll see. But if that isn't the case, and he is being bought, and a lot of people probably think he is being bought in for Bentancur, and I still probably think he is being bought in for Bentancur as well, which kind of worries me even more, especially under Frank. He's probably going to play in the pivot, or he's going to play some minutes in the pivot and some minutes in the 10. Now, the pairings are just a bit of a mess. I think, like I said, Palhinha and Gallagher, ball progression 0. Ball progression 0, 0, 0. People talk about Bergvall and Gallagher. This, for me, is going to be too chaotic. Too chaotic. Lots of kind of touches, lots of running, lots of energy, not enough control, maturity, positioning in kind of holding your position. A lot of wanting to step out and press, not enough protecting. On the ball, too chaotic. Just too chaotic. So that one, I think, is going to cause us more problems than what it's worth. Probably the best pairing is going to be Gray and Gallagher, although I haven't been impressed by Gray in that pivot. Still not really someone who can receive in the building phase, neither can Gallagher really, but I think this is probably the most balanced that we can have at the moment, which is a tough thing to accept at Spurs. That's sort of my kind of overall thoughts on the Gallagher signing. Good player. Don't think he fits what we needed. I think he'll have an impact at Spurs, though. I do think he'll impact games. I think he'll get goals and assists. I think our lack of output recently as well in the final third, he can help improve that. I don't think it's how you build a squad to try and push on. I really don't. And it worries me more about the direction of this club, even more than before. But I'll get behind him, of course. He's a Spurs player now. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Gallagher as a signing. Let me know who you'd want to sign next, because I still think there's more business to be done this window. Please do subscribe. Please do like, comment, share, etc., etc. And come on, you Spurs.